Anti-magic can erase magic, negate it, nullify it. It counteracts both spells and the energy that comprises it, magic power, and mana. When paired with the Demon Destroyer sword, it can affect the causality of magic by separating the magic, the cause, and the damage, the effect. Asta was born without magic in a world where magic is everything, and it is the anti-magic empowered swords that has allowed him to become a magic knight and rise up the ranks with the hopes of him one day becoming the Wizard King. The idea that many people have is that Asta was given the most broken ability in Black Clover, the absolute counter to his own verse. And this leads to some very interesting takes that I see about him in the greater anime-manga community. Some common things that are said is that Asta is not an underdog because he has anti-magic. They also say that he is actually not as strong as his peers, both in his own verse, but also in greater Shonen Jump or manga as a whole, because he's not actually overpowering his enemies, he is actually nullifying their abilities and relies on that. And then when Asta is taken into versus battles with characters from other universes, people's biases significantly lessen his abilities. For example, Deku has quirks. They are physical and biological, not magical. So, they say that because Asta relies on nullifying magic, that his anti-magic would be worthless against Deku, so the quirkless hero would win. On the other hand, if Asta were to be placed against a different universe that uses a supernatural energy system, let's say Jujutsu Kaisen for example, that he could not nullify curse energy or curse techniques either, because they are not magic. And the argument devolves into saying that not only does Asta's anti-magic not nullify cursed energy, but just like in the Deku example, Asta doesn't have attack potency. But this is just objectively incorrect and is a blatant showing of misunderstanding the power of anti-magic. While we'll be doing a collaboration with Surfbone addressing the many hypocrisies that arise when people mention Asta and versus battle debates, today's video I will be focused on these misunderstandings of anti-magic and Asta in general. Little spoiler warning for people watching the video. The video focuses mainly on the content that the anime has already adapted, but I will mention brief spoilers about the manga, but they will have most of the information and plot redacted, so you only get a very vague general idea of what I'm referencing. I'm going to be beginning with the meat of the discussion, anti-magic. I believe the root of the problem is that many people forget that anti-magic is not an ability. It is a whole new energy system that is outputted through the ability of the swords from the 5-leaf clover grimoire. This is not like Aizawa's erasure quirk from My Hero Academia. See, Aizawa can shut off the quirk of anyone who he activates the ability on. There is complete erasure of the quirk while the ability is active, and it will stay off as long as Aizawa can keep his eyes open. This is considerably more potent at nullifying abilities than anti-magic in Black Clover, and I'll prove that as we delve deeper into the video. In contrast to Aizawa, anti-magic is empowered by a completely different energy system from mana called anti-energy. The energy can fill into the swords and make anti-magic versions of their abilities, and Asta can produce spells comprised of this energy. The more anti-magic energy that Asta has, not only does it become easier to nullify or erase magic, but it also acts similar to mana, where the energy actually enhances his physical strength, durability, and speed. And while there are several statements in the manga and the anime that put forward that Asta can negate any magic no matter what, no matter how strong it is, because he has anti-magic, well, there are more feats that outright reject that notion. There are a plethora of limitations to anti-magic's nullification output, both in the beginning, middle, and end of the series. Early on, we are shown that Asta cannot merely one-shot opponents who are mages just because he hits them. Think about it like this. If anti-magic worked like Aizawa's erasure, like many people tend to think it does, then Asta could just one-shot the vast majority of the verse from the very beginning of the series, as barely anybody in Black Clover physically trains their bodies, whereas Asta has superhuman physical stats just with his raw physical power. If he hits someone with a sword and either rendered all of their magic power null, or at least a large chunk of it, then he should be able to easily defeat anybody after hitting them one time. In Chapter 8, Asta lands a devastating blow on Heath with his anti-magic sword. Not only does this not one-shot Heath, but it doesn't even nullify his magic power. As in the very next page, he activates a spell and lands a devastating stab of his own. Another great example is Asta versus Patri's Ray of Divine Punishment. When he first sees the spell, he is ready to go and reflect it to save Yami. But Yami says that it is too strong for Asta, that he would die if he tried to negate the spell.
No! Here I go! I'm gonna knock that spell of his right back at him!
Try it and the only thing that'll be left of you is that sword.
Come on!
However, 140 chapters later, Asta would fight against the much stronger Dark Elf version of Patri, who do a Demon Light ray of divine punishment. Asta had also powered up a lot by this point and had his two-horned variant of the black form, yet still struggled to repel the ray of divine punishment. He even needed Yuno's help just to barely repel it, and it took up the remainder of Asta's anti-magic power. What this quite clearly shows is that Asta has to scale, at least relative to the magic that he is nullifying or reflecting, which leads to a pretty damning measurement of his power, as he effortlessly reflected the quintet combo spell of 5 elves that had its power quadrupled. And Asta did that in just his base form. More examples can be looked at, like Asta stabbing Vedo with the Demon Dweller sword.
Oh, are you sure? Did you truly believe that your pitiful human power would have any effect on me?
The Demon Dweller is a sword that has the natural ability to absorb energy, but also is imbued with anti-magic. Despite that, it took a long time to weaken Vedo in the battle. If anti-magic is this auto-counter to the entire verse, then why did Vedo need to let himself get stabbed in the stomach with a sword that was stealing and nullifying his magic at the same time, also causing him to bleed out? And yet he still fought for a while before it finally weakened him enough to be defeated. Okay, but what about outright negating or erasing spells? Not just reflecting. There is also very clear limits shown of anti-magic. When the ancient demon attacked the Clover Kingdom, Asta, post-devil training, with his two-horned black form and black divider, could not nullify the ancient demon's magic orb despite stabbing right through it and holding it there and trying to fly through it for a period of time. Asta is stuck in the middle of the orb. Remember, we have seen anti-magic unravel, destroy, and erase magic with just a small touch, but he is stuck inside of the ancient demon spell, instead needing to transform and acquire far more anti-magic power in order to defeat the ancient demon and nullify its magic orb. Or what about when Asta was fighting clones made of shadow magic, and this clone, made of magic, grabbed the anti-magic sword and did not get its magic nullified? Also, we know that even in just black form, the area around Asta is surrounded in untraceable anti-energy. Despite that, while in the realm of shadows, it is still completely dark and not nullifying enough magic to produce light. Only once attaining a higher level of anti-magic power is Asta able to negate enough shadow to produce an aura of natural light around him. When facing the water spirit Undine, Asta was stuck in the water while in his black form. There was a time where he was also cuffed with water magic. Instead of erasing the magic around him, he was swimming in it and trapped. In the anime episodes that are supervised by Tabata and canon to the manga, Asta, while in two-horned black form and black divider, is training against Gaja. Gaja casts a regular lightning spell on him, and it hits Asta on his anti-magic sword so hard that it unravels Black Divider and knocks Asta back into just his one-horn variant of the black form. He literally hit him directly on the anti-magic with magic and knocked him out of a transformation and a technique. We also see Libe, the devil of anti-magic, get trapped and bound by chains made of magic. We know thanks to both the manga and anime canon episodes that Asta has anti-mana skin. It's where he uses more anti-magic than normal in his base form to increase his power and defenses. Yet despite that, he was trapped in the time spell and he needed to increase his anti-magic to his full black form to move inside of it, and needed an even higher level of anti-magic power to nullify the time magic. So when you take all these fights into context, what it really shows is that Asta and his anti-magic must scale at least somewhere close to most of the magic that he is negating. This is backed up by a statement and feat from chapter 4 of the series, where it states that if Asta sliced Magna's fire spell in half, it would erase the magic between it, splitting it into 2 fireballs, but it would not actually nullify the physical kinetic force the fireball gave off. This statement adds so much context for anti-magic for the rest of the series and pairs perfectly with a few other occurrences. When talking about Megicula, Libe thinks he cannot beat her unless he uses Devil Union with Asta, their strongest transformation at the time. But here's the thing, they still have anti-magic without Union. It just wasn't strong enough. Or, like when it was Asta versus Dante, Dante with 50% devil power could use his gravity to easily force black form Asta to the ground. Even Dante with 100% power would be nothing compared to Lucifero's power, and yet Asta in his base form, with the addition of his anti-mana skin, can withstand Lucifero's even more powerful gravity, all because Asta's anti-magic had gotten far stronger over the course of the devil training and devil ritual. If anti-magic was absolute, why did Asta ever need to train in the first place for anything besides speed? Why did he need to form a contract with his devil and then train with a devil host, Black Bull's vice captain? It's because, like we see with the Asta versus Magna moment and the many examples in the series, Asta and his anti-magic in most instances must scale relative in power to the magic that he is negating or reflecting. There is a form of power nullification in a different series, which I believe I can use to set a good example of how we should look at anti-magic. Domain amplification, a technique in Jujutsu Kaisen that can be used to nullify curse techniques, but it is not absolute within the series. When it's first introduced, we see that Jogo and Hanami can slowly force their way through Gojo's infinity, unless if he raises the power of his curse technique. A stark contrast from when Sukuna used it against infinity, as he can pretty casually push through the infinity barrier and land hits on Gojo. But this makes sense. Gojo and Sukuna are pretty close together in power, they are near equals, but Gojo versus Jogo and Hanami, yeah, that wasn't even close to being a close matchup. In context, domain amplification is a technique related to domain expansion, and domain expansions are more effective the more cursed energy a wielder has. So in short, domain amplification will nullify an opponent's curse technique as long as the wielder scales to or above them. If not, it'll only weaken the technique, and if there's a massive power difference, it'll only slightly weaken the technique. And that should be the same for anti-magic. If Asta is stronger than someone, he will easily nullify their abilities. If they are stronger than him, it will not be as effective. It'll become harder, and it's more so going to weaken them rather than outright nullify the magic. If they are much stronger than him, then it's going to be a bucket of water versus a house fire, which is another good way to look at anti-magic. It's water versus fire. And now when we go back to Aizawa from My Hero Academia, where he can just completely shut off somebody's quirk with way lesser limitations than anti-magic, then you can pretty much see here that his form of power nullification is way more potent than the power nullification of Asta's anti-magic. While we cannot necessarily say that Aizawa scales the characters that he fights because he is outright shutting off their power, Asta, his anti-magic has to scale, or at least relative, to the magic that it's negating. With anti-magic explained, I want to tackle another misinformed take, that Asta has no attack potency, even without anti-magic. An example that people bring up is that Asta is weak to people who don't use magic, like the people from the Land of the Sun, who use Yoryoku to power Yojutsu, and focus more on ki, and Asta significantly struggles against them because his anti-magic cannot nullify it. But, that's just actually not true. Literally, the first clash Asta has with a Land of the Sun fighter, it states that his anti-magic is nullifying their power. That is because the leader of the Land of the Sun outright states that they are the same, and Clover mages call the Land of the Sun's Yojutsu magic power, and Land of the Sun fighters refer to the magic power of Clover invaders as Yoryoku or Yojutsu. And we have a plethora of examples of Asta nullifying their powers, so no, this is not an example of Asta having terrible, non-magic negating attack power. In fact, this arc just blatantly states that Asta's anti-magic does have high attack power, because he does Zen, which significantly increases the attack power of whatever you're using. There are a slew of feats throughout the series that show that Asta has very high attack power. In chapter 146, Asta punches Raya in the face and sends him flying backward. This is Asta in his base, and before he learned to use anti-magic to reinforce himself outside of his black form. So that's Asta just straight up punching a captain level fighter from the Elf arc. One of my favorite feats for Asta in Black Clover takes place in one of the mid-time skip episodes in the anime. Now, I know a lot of people don't think these episodes hold any water, but they were directly supervised by Tabata and his editor. Characters from this arc are later appearing in the manga. Many episodes are referenced in the manga, like Sally creating magic items for the war based off Asta's DNA. And then that happens in the manga. And it's actually arguable that the manga referenced this specific episode when it said that Charmy actually saved the Land of the Sun from a famine. In this same episode where this aforementioned feat takes place, Charmy wears the same outfit that she wears in the Land of the Sun flashback panel, and then she goes to travel the world to find special ingredients. It's not a direct confirmation, but again, the episode was supervised by Tabata and its editor, and the arc is meant to be canon, so the feat should be allowed to be taken. Anyways, the feat is Asta taking on this massive food demon. This thing is so strong that Yami was scared of it and wanted Asta to take it on instead of him. That was because the demon had absorbed every last drop of the Black Bull's magic power. That includes Yami, Magna, Luck, Noelle, Charmy, and Finral. So you would think that Asta needed anti-magic, go into his black form, and use Black Divider to beat this monster, right? Well, no. Asta runs after this monster, jumps on it, and eats it to death. No anti-magic involved. Asta takes on a monster that had absorbed the combined magic power of the Black Bull's captains, and many other Black Bulls, and completely overpowered it in just his base form with no help from anti-magic. He keeps his grimoire in his pouch. So yeah, Asta's base physical power is stronger than mid-time skip Yami's magic power and about half the Black Bulls combined. And this Asta is physically much weaker than Spade Asta, let alone current Asta. So for example, if you don't think Deku is stronger than Yami, then Asta is taking him to the woodshed. One of the more obvious feats that is overlooked is Asta versus Libe. A lot of people think that Libe is some schmuck. However, as I already showed, anti-magic is a power that has force. The only thing is that Asta with no magic has no abilities for Libe to nullify, which does lessen the impact of anti-magic in the fight. And though Libe is stated to be holding back, he is still using this much anti-magic power in his swords. This is more anti-magic power than what was used against Zagreid to kill him. Also, Libe uses true anti-magic, which Asta with just one arm of true anti-magic power dwarfs his berserk power, which dwarfs his power that was used to defeat the word devil. So Asta defeats Libe using this level of might, which means Asta in the middle of the Spade Saga with no anti-magic and one arm is more powerful than the word devil Zagreid. Imagine where he is now with anti-magic on top of it, with devil fusion, with Zeton, all of that. The idea that Asta has no attack potency, that he just has to rely on nullification is completely wrong, especially when we have the idea that Asta has to scale relative to the magic that he is nullifying. So let me know what you guys think down below. Do you guys agree or disagree or have completely different thoughts or anything to add? Let me know down below. If you guys did enjoy the video, please do leave a like and also subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter or join my Discord, both linked in the description. And also, you can become a member of the channel and get access to more videos every single week. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Peace out.